Welcome back to another episode of No One Is Coming. The answer is you. Today is officially, and this is only if you're watching this on YouTube, today is officially a crazy hair day. But other than that, today we are going to talk about relationships. And we're going to talk about the difference between a transformational relationship or transformational being versus transactional relationship or transactional being. Does that interest you? Good, because we're just about to start. So with that being said, let's dive in. In a world where we often find ourselves waiting for someone to come and save us, it's time to embrace one powerful truth. I hate to tell you this, but no one is coming. The answer is you. Welcome to the podcast that empowers you to take charge of your life and unleash your true potential. I'm your host, Ofri Fuchs, and I'm thrilled to embark on this transformative journey with you. So, if you're ready to embark on a journey full of self-discovery, growth, and actually take responsibility for your life, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here. Now let's rock and roll. Hello. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of No One Is Coming. The answer is you. And the reason I'm laughing, you can only get it if you're watching this on YouTube, is because, like I said in the beginning, it's a crazy hair day and it's all over the place. And this is what happens when you put your hair cream after your hair is dry. It's all over the place, and only a curly girl would get what I'm talking about. So, however, we're still here. We're still rocking the hair. And we're going to get through this episode because that's what I intended to do today. And today we are talking about truly one of the topics that I find is transformational. And this is the Transformational Podcast. And it is about relationships, and not only relationships, because relationships are basically two people that are in a certain interaction. So two beings in communication is basically one person and another person. And if one person is about being, as I mentioned in the beginning, transformational or transactional, and the other person is either transformational or transactional, then the relationship is either transformational or transactional. And this is a really, I think, it's a mind-shifting idea. Because you'll see that as I go through this episode, you'll see how much we're grounded into the transactional relationship. Most of us, and I sometimes am, but I have definitely been a very transactional person in transactional relationships. So I really want to dive into this, and I really hope this gives you value because it can truly change your life. With that big introduction, let's dive in. So what are we talking about when we're talking about transactional versus transformational? So first I want to say this can either be in your personal life, it can either be in work, it can either be in your family, but these two types of relationships are very, very, very common, and they have a profound impact on the way you're being and the way you're living your life, and especially on the way you grow with yourself and with others. So what are we talking about? Let's start at the very beginning, as Julie Andrews says. Let's start with a transactional relationship, because this is the more common, unless you're in personal development, this is the more common way of being for most people. What is a transactional relationship? It's a quid pro quo. They're relationships based on exchange. You give me this and I give you that. They're keeping score. So it doesn't matter what you're expecting in return. It can be someone's time. Of course, it can be someone's money. It can be someone's support, resources, and it can even be love. It can even be appreciation or recognition. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Because a lot of times we're doing something, we're helping someone else, and we're saying, oh, I just want to help them. But we're secretly, subconsciously even sometimes, wanting them to acknowledge us, to say, wow, that was a really good job you did. And that comes from our childhood, because our parents, we were looking for that, or they used to do that to us. So we would become pleasers and we would do something and expect someone to give us a big applause. Oh, that's so great. Congratulations. You tidy up your room. Good job. So we do things and we expect someone out there to give us something in return. That's an exchange. That's a transactional relationship. And that's why it's so subtle. It's so hidden. It's such a very gentle undercurrent layer, but there's something that we're expecting to gain. And that can be very tricky, and there's very little room for growth. There's very little room for honesty. Now, let's talk about the other type of relationship, the other type of being, and that's the transformational relationship, the transformational way of being. And what do I mean by that? This type of relationship is, the focus here obviously is not about the exchange. It's not about the keeping score. It's about the growth. It's about how can I make your life better? And by making your life better, it makes my life better. If I help you grow, then I grow. So in a way, I'm kind of contradicting myself, right? Because it is a quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. It is an exchange. It is something that I'm gaining, but I'm not expecting to gain it. I do it because I truly focus on you. And that's an opportunity for me to grow. I won't grow all the time unless I put my focus on how did I grow. So that goes into personal development. And if we focus on the lesson, the growth, the learning curve, then there's always something to gain. But when we're talking about relationship, or we're talking about the thing that you and I create in between us, the transformational relationship is about where both parties can evolve, can go up to the next level. So the relationship, there's you, there's me, and that's what's in between us. That's a catalyst for both of us, for change, for support, for mutual enrichment. So it can be really a beautiful, beautiful thing. So again, it's not about keeping score. It's about co-creating something that's ours, that it's like a nurturing pond. Like we can both drink from it all the time and keep growing. And it enhances both of us, both people that are involved in the relationship. So just think about that. Think of the difference between these two types of relationships. And this one is draining, and I'll get to that in a second. And this one is enriching and nurturing and an opportunity for me to grow. So which one would I prefer? Obviously, this one, the transformational one. But our natural way of being is going to the transactional one. And I want to open your mind to understanding that sometimes you're in a transactional relationship without even knowing it, and just being conscious of it, just being aware of it, can automatically, or slowly, not automatically, slowly, gradually can create the change that you're looking to find. And I'll tell you why this is so important in a second. So let's break it down a little bit further and see where it comes about. So imagine that you're in a relationship, any type of relationship, and you can think of someone that think of someone that you know, whether it's a colleague, a partner, a friend, a coworker, someone in your family, that whenever you're around them or with them, let's say sometimes you come out of it a little bit drained, or you come out a little bit edgy or anxious. There's some kind of soft negative feeling that occurs, and you're not all certain of why that is. So just think of that person, think of that relationship, think of yourself in that relationship, and ask yourself just intuitively, without really knowing, would you say that this relationship is a transactional one or a transformational one? And take your time to sit with this and answer. Now, if we go even deeper with this example, let's say you are in your workspace. You have a colleague and you both work together, or maybe you're a student, and if you work together, let's say you have a project deadline, or if you're a student, you have an exam that you need to study together. So if you support each other, let's say you support this other person, your colleague or your friend in your college, in your university. So if you support that person, you share tasks with them, you contribute to them, you help them grow. Now, in a transactional relationship, you would do that because you would expect them to pay you back and to return the favor. So they would give their time in your next exam or in your next project, or you would want them to acknowledge you to your boss or to the teacher, or you would just say, you would just like hiddenly, subconsciously expect them to say, can I pay you for this? And you'd be like, oh, no. Well, if you want to, that's fine. So that's a very clear transactional relationship. So that's very hidden. So this, I know it feels uncomfortable, but this requires a great deal of truth. And you have to really be honest with yourself. Oh my God. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. I know, I've been there, because I used to help a lot. I used to volunteer to do a lot, but I was secretly wanting people to acknowledge me or to talk about me to other people. This is very honest, but I used to listen to my mom. When I was a little girl, I would do things in the house, and I would listen to my mom talk about me to her friends or to like our family relatives, and I would expect to hear how she's proud of me. So I would do that to feel good because I wanted somebody else to say, oh, Ofri is so amazing. So we do that because there's something missing. It's not because we're full. Our motive is the transactional motive. And we need to catch that and understand that nobody else outside can fill that. We have to go within and fill that void, that gap, what's missing. And a transactional relationship is just a symptom that something is missing in me that I'm looking for. It could be my self-worth or the way I value myself, the way I look at myself, my confidence. So that is just a reflection of who I'm being in the world. Now, what happens if I shift that focus? What happens if I shift that interaction or interchange when I'm looking for expecting a reward in the form of money, in the form of a good word, praise, or their time back? What if I shift that and I say, I want to help you just because I want you to succeed. I want to help you just because I want you to grow. Just because I believe in you. So I don't need anything from you. I'm not expecting anything from you. And by helping you, and this is a fact, that when we contribute to others, our frequency is so high. It's up there with love and authenticity and compassion. It's within the highest frequencies possible. So if I come from love when I help you and I want you to succeed, then that benefits me. I raise my frequency, and that opens me up for possibilities. And this is kind of going in between the mindset and the energy world. But truly, trust me on this when I say this is your opportunity to develop new skills. This is your opportunity to build a deeper bond. This is your opportunity to enhance your being, to become a better person. And this is a ripple effect. So it'll affect everyone you come in touch with, in contact with. And if you believe in karma, then karma will pay you back. Trust that. So just do good in the world for the sake of doing good, not for the sake of getting anything in return. I need to take a break or a pause, or just a breath, because this was, I'm really passionate about this, and I hope you guys can hear this or see this. All right. So I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here. So The trick is that our mind plays tricks on us. And how does it do that? Because when we're in a transactional relationship, then we feel good. We feel good. It feels good that somebody's giving me back their time or their money or their praises. But somehow afterwards, if we're truly honest, that leaves us empty. That leaves us drained. That leaves us with, again, that gap that we need to get more of. So the focus, because the focus is our self-interest, our self-worth, and we're trying to get something back, then over time, it just becomes, it's like an addiction, right? Nobody can fill that gap for you. So we constantly need that new fix of give me that good feedback, give me that good word, give me a sense of value. Like, you know what, I'll tell you one more thing. What happens is that we don't trust our friendships because we're constantly helping other people. That's a big thing with pleasers. We help other people, but we don't believe that they like us because of who we are and who we're being in the world. We just tend to think, because we're constantly helping them, that they're there just to get our help and just to get our attention, our skills. So we don't even trust our relationships, the one that we're creating, to be transactional. So it's a chicken and an egg, and it's just a spiral effect, and we need to stop it. Now, transformational relationships, on the other hand, are more sustainable. They're built on trust. They're built on mutual growth. They're built on this shared commitment from the two parties. So that's a whole different scale of being in a relationship. You've created the foundation for a true, authentic relationship. And these relationships are, if you create them, they are priceless. They are inherently positive, built on trust and confidence and love. And again, like I said before, when you're doing it, the relationship itself has a ripple effect. And if you foster those kinds of transformational relationships in your life, you are not only changing your own being or that person's being or that relationship, you will see that that creates a ripple effect on your life. It's really living out of love, and there's nothing better. So let's talk about the practical aspect of it. How do you move if you've noticed that you're in a transactional relationship and you want to shift who you are and who you're being in the world to transformational being or transformational relationships? I know that you get it by now, that how it's so powerful and impactful. And let's see how we can create that. So a couple of tips for you, or tools if you want to say. The first thing is the way you think about it. The way you think of coming into a relationship, you have to shift your mindset from asking yourself, what can I get, to what can I give? And it's hard at times. People will find that challenging because we have, again, this hidden layer of what's in it for me? Why am I here? Like, why should I come to the party? What's in it for me? What's in it? Like, what can I give in this party? Who can I be in this party? Who can I find to smile, to raise their frequency, to make them feel better in this party, instead of, what's in it for me? Why am I going? It's not, nobody's there, like I don't like anyone. Well, why don't you try to like someone and you don't have to be an extrovert, but if you can offer someone in that party, if you can offer one person in that party something that enhances their way of being, you already got, okay? You already got so much. So instead of focusing on what is it that you gain, focus on what is that you're going to give, and that will give you back. That will contribute to your way of being. That will also contribute to the growth and well-being of others. So it's a win-win. I don't mean that you have to go against your needs. That's not what I'm about. But if you're doing something, it's a very subtle shift that subtle shift of shifting your mindset from what can I gain to what can I give. It's just prioritizing adding value to someone or something or a relationship. And that creates a deeper way of living. I hope I came across powerfully for you. The next thing that I would emphasize and have you look at is create space for vulnerability, for opening your heart. And the reason that is if you are being vulnerable, then you can feel someone else's vulnerability. And that creates a space for connection. So if we stop hiding behind this mask of perfectionism, and we invite other people to be vulnerable, and by inviting ourselves to be vulnerable, then there's a bridge for us to meet on. And that creates safe spaces. And people can see that, people connect to that, people can feel that. And that allows you to grow and them to grow. We grow only through vulnerability. It's very hard to grow hiding behind a mask. The third thing that I would want to recommend is shared growth. So again, if you're not thinking about what's in it for me, and you're thinking about what can I contribute, then there's you, there's me, and then there's the relationship in between us. So if we get something together, we grow together. Just think about all your friends from like when you were very small and the friends that we grew up with. And we have these memories of shared experiences, of like these moments where I'm getting goosebumps, where we grew together. That, that first time where, you had your first kiss and you came to your best friend to share that, and they were so happy for you and so excited for you. And there was that moment of bonding, and you both felt like you grew to a different level of your being because you explored teenager or whatever. So that moment in time, that shared growth experience, or you both passed an exam, or you both passed your driving test, or whatever it was, that creates that kind of sets in your soul. So try to think of that moment and bring it into like a more spiritual connection. Because if we don't have that many people, maybe partners or family members or our children, where we have a shared growth experience. But if even with your colleagues, with your coworkers, if you can have a moment of shared growth, of shared personal goals, talk about their dreams, talk about their aspirations, where do they see themselves in their relationship, and try to have those connections where you support them, they support you, and you guys are working upwards and onwards together. That is definitely a moment that establishes the foundation for a transformational relationship, obviously, not a transactional one. And the last thing, I'm going back to the beginning, is I set you up with 3 do's, okay? Do shift your mindset from what it is that I can give, do focus on shared growth, and do create space for vulnerability. The only don't is don't keep score. Keeping score is just poison to any relationship. So don't keep score. Don't think about what they did or what you did, and just in a transformational relationship, the idea is just give. Keeping score just disappears. It evaporates into thin air. It's not about that. You're not measuring who did what, because that's you can't measure like I took the kids out for the afternoon or I took the dog out. It's not about that. We're supporting each other in our goals, in our dreams, in our life course, whatever it is, in our career. So if you focus on that, if you focus on the other person, if you focus on the relationship, the keeping score part just evaporates, and just let it evaporate. It takes off all the pressure, and it allows you both to be in the relationship in its purest potential. And that's a beautiful thing to be with and to create. So I'll be honest, we're closing up here, and I know this is kind of a tricky one to shift any relationship from a transactional one to a transformational one. I know this because I've been there, and sometimes I am there. Sometimes, especially when we're tired or exhausted, or we have a lot of work, a big workload, it's very hard to see your partner and say, yes, I'm going to be transformational now with you. No, like, I need my space and I don't care about you right now. That happens. Be compassionate to where you are. But if it's having that focus, that's where you want that. This relationship is where you want to head. You want to head towards a transformational relationship. So even if you fall into a transactional mode, don't worry about it. Be compassionate. You can always have a redo day, but just keep that focus in mind and create that mindset. And it does require patience, just patience and consistency, and leave the door open for yourself and for your partner or your colleague or your coworker or your friend or your family member, whoever that may be, to create something new. And start by giving, because that's another really important thing. I'll just say that to wrap things up. If you're in a transactional relationship and you want to shift it to a transformational relationship, there's going to be a time of a gap, because you'll be starting to give, and the other person is not going to reflect that back to you. They'll still be in the transactional mode because it's a two-way street. Keep giving. Give it time, and eventually, I promise you, something will shift in them. They will see you in a different light. Now, two things might happen if you give it enough time. One, you'll be done with this relationship, and they'll just kind of dwindle because you'll feel that they're draining you, or they will shift. And there is where you create a whole new rebirth of that relationship. And that's a beautiful thing to watch because you created that. So as I always say, no one is coming. The answer is you. If you want to shift your being or your relationships from transactional to transformational, now, today is a really good place to start. So I hope you got a lot of value. And I will ask, I don't do this often, but I will start doing this. If you enjoy this content, please share, like, and even write a comment, because I know that in Spotify and on YouTube, your feedback really, really helps getting my messages across. So take a couple minutes, and it's not a transactional request, it's a transformational one. Do it for you. I love you, and I'll see you next time.